Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Rob Wells Music Talk. It's an overcast day. It's been raining a lot this week. It's kind of gloomy, but also it's got its own beauty to it. This kind of weather, is great for the grass. It's great for the plants, all of that. I know everybody loves a sunny day, but in order to really appreciate those sunny days, you've got to go through weather like this, right? It's not so bad. Temperature hasn't turned too much. Here in Canada, it's late September. And what could be better? I'm out here on the soccer field, or football, as it's called in many other places in the world. I'm here with my dog, and we're out for another walk. Yeah, this overcast weather, it got me thinking about something that I was asked about a month ago. I was asked by my really dear, sweet friend, Jeff Nedza, who's also in the music industry, pretty amazing dude. He asked me to come to a music festival called Gussapalooza, and I was up there with another producer named Brian Moncars, and we were just being interviewed by Jeff about the state of the music industry and what it's like as a music producer, what we look for in artists, what we tell artists in order to keep the faith and keep going and stay motivated. It was a really, really great talk, really, really nice, and we tried our best to answer Jeff's challenging questions. But we got through it, and when the event was over, I had an artist approach me, and they asked me this question that I found quite interesting. They just said, how do you stay so positive when talking about the music industry, when talking about the future of music, when talking about all the work that has to happen in order for success to take place? And it really just kind of hit me because, I guess I come across that way. I do try to stay as positive as I can, but in order to give them a really good answer, I sat there for a second and thought, what can I tell them that's really going to help them? And I'd like to share that with you. Basically, I started off by saying this, and this is absolutely true. This is from the heart. I wake up completely 100% grateful every day. Every morning that I wake up, I think, holy smokes, am I ever lucky? I'm still here. I'm still here. And I know that there's a million people that are not here today that were here yesterday in this world. Population increases, but population also decreases, and people are dying all the time. I am very thankful to still be here to enjoy this thing called life, as Prince said in Let's Go Crazy. I'm very thankful for that. There's so many things that could happen that could just take you out of this world so quickly, and very thankful that none of those things have happened to me, because let's be honest, life is pretty rocking compared to the alternative situation. So there's that. I also think how lucky I am to be here. How lucky I am that it's actually me that's here. When you think about it scientifically, every woman has roughly 600,000 eggs in their body. And I just happen to be one out of 600,000 that made it, that became an embryo and made it all the way to birth, and I'm still here. That's a huge lottery win right there. If you were told that you were going to win a lottery that was 1 out of 600,000, you'd say, wow, chances are it's probably not going to happen. But look here I am. And if I'm talking to you, you're also 1 out of 600,000. Not only that, but my mother was 1 out of 600,000. And her mother was 1 out of 600,000. And her mother was 1 out of 600,000. I come from an almost endless line of lottery winners. It's insane. I have roughly 600,000 unborn brothers and sisters that never made it into this world, that never get to see the light of day, that never get to experience consciousness. I mean, like, that's pretty insane. Had my parents waited another month, had they waited a week, a day, like, it wouldn't be me. It wouldn't be me. It all just had to come together in order for this crazy thing to happen. I'm sure there's some people out there in this world that wish it wasn't me, but here we are. So I think about that. I also think, you know, how lucky we are to live at the time that we're living right now. You know, we weren't born 500 or 1,000 years ago or 10,000 years ago or anything like that. We're living at these times, which technologically, they're pretty amazing times. Also with medicine, pretty amazing times. Really, really thankful for that. That's incredible. If I have a fever, I can take something that brings my fever down. If my daughter, who this year had her appendix completely liquefy, she was able to be saved. Like, that's pretty amazing. We're also living in a great location. The Earth is third planet from the sun in the Goldilocks zone. Perfect for sustaining life, for keeping life, for creating life. All of that is just, it's amazing. Like, literally, the odds of you being here are something like 400 trillion to 1. 400 trillion to 1. That's insane. A million seconds, this is a cool little fact. Hope I'm not boring you to tears. But a million seconds is roughly 12 days. A billion seconds is around 31 years. And a trillion seconds is around 31,000 years. That's insane. You are 400 trillion to 1 odds that you're here. That's something like 12 million years if you were to take 400 trillion seconds. Like, just crazy. I may have my math a little bit wrong on this, so somebody please correct me in the comments down below if I am. But yeah, so grateful. Super grateful. I live in a great part of the world. I live in Canada. Holy smokes. That's amazing. I'm sure you also live in great parts of the world, surrounded by great family, great people, great friends, all of that. So waking up grateful every single day for that. I then have this next thing that I think about is that I get to wake up every day, and at some point in my day, I'm going to be doing something musical. I'm going to be writing something. I'm going to be playing something. I'm going to be working on something. I'm going to be fixing something. I'm going to be talking about something that is musical. Now, this is my full-time job. I don't really call it a job, but that's my full-time gig. I've had lots of experience before where this wasn't my full-time job, where I had other jobs. As many of you know, I was a computer animator before here in Canada. Before that, I worked for the Bank of Nova Scotia as a teller and customer service rep. Did all sorts of different things, but I always made sure that at some point in my day, I was going to work on music, whether I just had 5 minutes or 10 minutes or half an hour or an hour, or on the weekend, if I had a little bit longer, I was always going to be working on some element of music. So super grateful that I'm alive, that I'm here, 1 in 400 trillion odds, and I get to work on music at some point of every day. That's pretty incredible, right? So right there, I am so happy about that. And I'm happiest at that. And this is what I call base camp. This is what I call like you're at the ground level of just being completely grateful and happy that you get to make music. You're at base camp. Now, at some point, I'm sure all of us want to be on Mount Everest. Wouldn't that be fun? To get to Mount Everest and to climb that highest peak and get there and look at the view from way up top. And while that does sound like a lot of fun, it's a lot of work to get there. And I really wish upon everyone that you don't get to Everest right away. I really hope that you enjoy base camp. I hope that you learn to appreciate what it's like to be at ground zero and just really being happy there and just being able to explore music and to create, meet a lot of great people, have fun. And that's kind of like climbing small hills. You know, it's like each little hill that you do, if you're interested in mountain climbing, you start small and you start with little tiny hills, little bumps, and you go up and you go down. And maybe the first few, your legs are going to be tired. Maybe you'll get stronger after a few, and then you'll be ready for slightly bigger hills. And that's great. A slightly bigger hill comes along, you've got the strength to go up, but it's slightly longer ascent and descent, so yeah, your legs are going to be tired. But you do that enough, and eventually you'll get used to that, and then you go to a slightly bigger hill, and so on, and so on, and so on, so that when a really big hill comes along, you're ready, you're prepared to do it. And then when Everest comes along, if it ever comes along, who knows if it will. Most people it doesn't. For me, it hasn't. I've never really had an Everest moment, but I've had a lot of big hill moments, and it's been a lot of fun. But if Everest comes along, you're ready. You're ready to go up and climb all the way to the very top. And I'm sure by that point, you've got a whole team around you. You've got people to help you, which is really important to do when you're trying to achieve something that huge. And so you get to the top of Everest. Here's the thing that happens when you get to Everest. You get up to the top, you get all excited, you're there. You're at the very top, you take your selfie, you look around and say, wow, this is really cool. And then you get a tap on the shoulder of somebody that's right beside you. And they're saying, you gotta get off, it's my turn. And there's an endless line of people behind you that are all waiting to do the same thing, that are all waiting for their turn on Everest. So what happens after you do that Everest climb? You do the Everest descent, and down you go. And where are you going? Well, eventually you're heading to base camp, where it all begins again. And so, if you have the mentality that you are happy and so grateful and so thankful at base camp level, it'll never be an issue. It'll never be a problem. You'll have the highest of highs, you'll have that experience, but then you obviously and eventually will come back down to base camp, and it begins all over again. Or you may stay at base camp for the rest of your life, or you might have multiple Everests. Who knows? Nobody knows what's going to happen. But the point is, being grateful, being happy at ground zero, at base camp, is the way to remain happy with whatever happens during the day. The music industry can be a vicious place. It can be a wonderful place, but it can definitely, land you flat on your butt many, many times. You can have moments where you're rejected numerous times, and somebody says, what you're doing is terrible, whatever, like just the worst of the worst. But if you're happy and you're grateful and you think, my God, I'm still here, I still get to live this life, I still get to enjoy every single day, whether it's a good day or a bad day, it's not going to hit you as hard as if you're putting everything into this result of somebody telling you whether they like what you're doing or they don't. Right? So that's kind of how I navigate through this crazy business, because there are massive ups and there are massive downs in this business. And you have to just be ready for those, and also just try to laugh off things and just try to be as happy as you can, just knowing that, hey, no matter what somebody else thinks, I got to wake up today, I'm alive, I got to make music, I got to play some music for someone, I got to present my music to someone. Maybe they have some cool advice for me, maybe what they said is not really for me, but don't let it hit you hard. And just be happy, just be grateful, all of that. And then you'll find that just the more that you do this, the more that you can just be at peace with it all and just see the beauty in it all. And, not take things too seriously, and just really try to find the enjoyment in the whole journey. It really is. If you're so frustrated along the whole journey, are you going to stick with it for too long? I plan on doing this for my whole life. I plan on being a happy person for my whole life, and just being really happy in the fact that I get to wake up every day, I get to go on beautiful walks like this, and I get to go home and make music. It might not always be the kind of music that I want to listen to in the car when I'm alone, but I still get to wake up and make music. And isn't that great? Isn't that fun? Isn't that cool? I wish that for all of you, and I wish that you all wake up in a grateful state, happy to be here, happy to be doing what you're doing, happy to be working with whoever you're working with, and riding those waves of great times and not so great times, but just not letting those not so great times affect you so much. Also, I would argue, don't let the really great times affect you so much, because if you really are just always just searching for that high, and when the high doesn't happen, it might really hit you like a ton of bricks. So just, really just try to be even-keeled about the whole thing. A good friend of mine, Lindy Robbins, great songwriter. She's written so many big, massive hits, but she's also such a sweet person and hilarious. She once said, here's my imitation of Rob Wells getting really excited. Hey guys, I'm really excited. And then she said, here's my imitation of Rob Wells getting really upset. Hey guys, I'm really upset. And as you can see, it's the same thing. And I'm pretty proud of that fact. I like the fact that I don't get too crazy in any which way. It's just all kind of just happy-go-lucky, kind of just like a bumbling idiot going through life. I look at my life a lot like Forrest Gump, to be honest. If you've ever seen that movie. If you haven't, I definitely recommend that you watch Forrest Gump. Incredible movie. But if you watch Forrest is like this bumbling idiot that goes through life, right? He's having a lot of fun and just just happy-go-lucky and doesn't take life too seriously. And occasionally, something happens where the stars align, and the next thing you know, he's going from his home in Alabama to meeting President Nixon. And, it's kind of crazy. And then he goes right back to his home in Alabama, where he is happy, and he's, there's never really an issue that much other than missing his Jenny and Bubba and Lieutenant Dan and all that. Sorry, I'm going too much down a Forrest Gump road, but try to live your life like Forrest. Just be happy with what you're doing, be grateful that you're around, and if something great happens along the way, that's the icing on the cake. That is definitely it. So anyways, that's my long-winded answer on what keeps me happy in this industry, and I hope that was useful to you. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know in the comments below. If you liked what you heard here, I'd love it if you would like and subscribe to the channel. That would be amazing. Sorry, my face is getting hit by tons of spider webs as I walk through here. Yes, please like and subscribe. That would be great. That just helps me make more of these videos. Lights fuel to my fire. And I would love to hear from you. And again, if I can help you on a one-to-one basis, I would love to. The link can be found if you go to my Instagram, which is Rob W Music. And on there, on my profile, you will find links to my website, which is robwellsmusic.com. And you will also find a link for a personal one-to-one where we could link up and we can talk about anything. Songwriting, production, music industry, music development, everything under the sun, as long as it's music industry. I mean, even if you wanted to just talk about life and how to get your torch lit again, I'm all about that as well. And just trying to inspire people to do their best work and to wake up every day being happy people. So that's it. That's my spiel. Thank you so much for listening. And until next time, take care.
Music time.